Hey, the van's back. The Sienna, but the Sienna's back for different reasons. The brakes are feeling spongy. They're going out to the floor. That she doesn't feel comfortable driving it, and I kind of noticed that when I had the car initially, but you know, confirmed with her husband, like, hey, the brakes supposed to feel like this. It was normal, but later in the day, she's like, hey, about a few days later, she called and said, hey, still doesn't feel right. So it's back. Again, just a brief history. The car had a motor installed, and the guy just pretty much screwed over a lot of things on this, so I'm going back over it. I just repaired the fans that you're here that are on now. We diagnosed that in the earlier video. Those are working. Long story short, I'm going to address this. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is look for a code because the ABS light's on, and I'm going to check the ABS first and see what code comes up. Because if it's a wheel speed sensor, I'll go to that area, and because this could be a possibility the wheel bearing's defective. But even though this car doesn't have any wheel bearing noise, it could be defective. So front wheel speed sensor, this is the right circuit. So the front right, so the front passenger side. So I'm gonna jack that wheel up, see what's going on with it. Hell, more than likely I'm gonna do a bleeding procedure. It might be in the special functions here. Finally loaded up. All right, so here's the air bleeding. Use the function to replace the brake actuator. So more than likely, I'm going to use this because I do want to flush the system. At the same time, being that the system's really dirty, I'm going to check each wheel and make sure that there's no seized calibers or seized caliber guides, because if the caliber can't go back and forth properly, and if it's just stuck in a particular position, that brake pad is not going to be able to have the proper clearance to be able to retract and depress that pad in an ideal fashion. So you want everything working fine on the brake system to ensure that the pad doesn't have excessive clearance, like such as stuck caliber or a defective wheel bearing or defective guide. So if everything's not working properly, then that could contribute to the spongy brake pedal feel. So as far as the wheel bearing go, if the rotor is pressing up against the pad, you press the brakes and it pushes back on the piston, then you can also get that spongy feel because it's not completing that clamping force. And if it's not keeping that clamping force, then it's going to act as though there's air in the system. So I want to go to that right side first, but naturally when you bleed it, you want to go to the far corner, furthest away from the master cylinder, and start bleeding from there. So I'm going to jack that right side up, take the right wheel off, check the caliber condition, and make sure that there's no issues with the wheel bearings. And I'm gonna go to the far back over there and check everything accordingly. So it could be that the brake ABS module here is probably defective. Could be. I doubt it. You don't really have that with these models, but I'm gonna look that up and find out on Diagnostic. So let's get it side jacked up and go from there. So first, after I get it jacked up, I'm gonna go ahead and get all the old brake fluid out and get fresh fluid in there. So when I start bleeding the system, I'll go ahead and pull the new fluid through. Minimize this mess. I know she said her dad topped the fluid off when, you know, he helped do the brakes and stuff. So, I mean, I guess they assumed that this was a problem. It didn't work out well. So, let me see if I can get this down in there. Take this off. Hey, all right. Take off the level sensor here, and seems like I got better access to those clamps. Get my rags down over there. I shouldn't have to worry about bleeding the master cylinder because what happens, there's plenty of fluid in the cylinder. So this fluid only feeds it. And once I start pushing the pads in to check the brake caliber, then the fluid's gonna increase the level here. So, but we'll see. We'll see which route I want to take. I don't want to, well, I might not even worry about air in the system, even if it was, but I don't want to push any old fluid back up in here. So likely I'll just clean this out, put fresh fluid in here, and just suck everything on through. All right, let's get that off. Come out, okay, drain back. These rubber hoses don't seem reliable. Shit. Oh shit, damn it. I'm screwing up. So we got brake cleaner. I'm making a mess. Top on, give it a shake. Getting this back down yonder. Yeah, I about got quite the mess. Put that back in here. You know what? Let's work out. I guess the bad thing is I go through all this and it wind up being the master cylinder. I'm like, damn it, man. Damn it. We'll see. But the thing is, the master cylinder's not leaking. So, but at the same time, how the master cylinder is designed, if there's pressure, if the fluid's bypassing those seals in the piston, then it's understandable. But normally what I'm feeling though, as far as the pedal just gradually going to the floor and no loss of fluid, is going to be something dealing with the calipers. And one thing, this is just my observation here, but we're looking at the front brake caliper. If you see that, this is the front brake. You know what? I think it'd be better if I turn the wheel out. Let's see if we can get it to focus now. If you look inside of there, you see how, you know what?
I need to pull this off, but I'm just noting something first. But I looked, the pad on the outside is thicker than the pad on the inside here. That type of abnormal wear shows, or generally would indicate, that there's some issues with these guides here being seized up. Let's see. This is not. It's moving, but it's slow. Yeah, the piston moves, but it's not sliding back. See, this one might be seized up here. Might be the culprit. I'm gonna take those pads off and show you, which I should have done. Let me get a 14. Yes. It's not even moving. See, look how abnormal these pads are worn. This is due to stuck guides like this. I don't know if it's going to be the cure-all, but this is what contributes to that spongy brake feel. Depends on how bad they are. I'm going to show you how to get this out. First, I'm going to use a wrench here, 17 millimeter, and see if I can, which is not working. Yo, all right, moved a little bit. Yeah, that moved a little bit. I'm gonna take these pads out. Yeah, I'm gonna try to. Oh, oh my gosh, I broke it. Well, can't win them all. This is the awkward sound of disappointment. Damn it, boy. Hey, I'm gonna show you how to get it off. And I break it. Yeah, I mean, if it broke, it's fine. I mean, it was bound to be a problem anyway. I'd rather break on my watch than it break on the customer and me saving costs. So, not a big deal. No biggie. No, look at that. So yeah. All right. Well, let me make some phone calls and see about getting another one. What? I don't even know if this could have been prevented. I got my new caliber mounting bracket. Unfortunately, I got it from O'Reilly's, and I'm not sure if somebody was tampering with it, but it did not come with new guides or the dust covers here. So luckily, I save anything that if I put in a new caliber mounting bracket or anything new on a vehicle, I'll save these. And luckily, I had some laying around that were for Lexus. So kind of disappointed, O'Reilly's. It didn't even come with hardware. But I was under the impression when you do get caliber mounting brackets, they should come with hardware and new guides and grommets. Yeah, I keep getting them scam phone calls. They call my number like crazy. All right, let's see. Got the brake put on, brakes done. I got it bled up. Um, Even though the car still has a slight pressure loss, it could have been just me just pressing the pedal a whole lot. I'm gonna, when I get the other side, the other brake done, and that bled out, I'm gonna bleed the rear, make sure all the air's out the system. One thing I noticed was that there were some markings indicating front right on the shield here and on the spindle, and it could have been a possibility this vehicle was in an accident and things were replaced. So possibility, there was probably air in the system. But again, I'm gonna do the other side. I've got as much air as I could on this side here. We'll see what happens. But this side, this brake is done. I'm gonna work on the other side now. I'm on the other side here. And another cue I found was this brake line was not connected properly, which could potentially indicate that there's still potential air in the system. The subframe could have been removed. The brake system could have been still detached at some point and improperly bled. So that's why I'm inspecting everything and trying to get down to what's causing this air in the system, instead of just saying, hey, yeah, it's gonna be the master cylinder. put a master cylinder on it, and you still got the same problem. Because a lot of times you're not going to bleed the entire system if you change the master cylinder because of how the fluid operates. So, but let me address this and get this bled out. Yeah, even on this side, it still has writing on here. I'm just assuming this is going to be junkyard writing. I mean, call me crazy, but I'm gonna do the same thing, bleed the area, and hopefully I can get the air out of the system. And this should be the leading cause of why this pedal has excessive travel. So it's not bleeding up with me and myself, and I don't have another person here to help me bleed the system electronically. So I got to try the next best thing, which is use this. I'm gonna use my vacuum pump for my AC system, and it's connected to my it's gonna be a little catch can right here. So try it again. I actually had something holding the brake down. So let's do this again. Crack the line. I'm gonna dump this out. And slide this on here like so. Working now. I'm just gonna let this build up until it becomes clear. The last time it wasn't working was because I had a bar pressed up against the brake pedal. That was my fault. Alright, got the brakes taken care of. It works perfect. Everything feels completely normal. This is the thing though. Now, let me roll this window up. So when I go to bleed the front, if I even touch that front, I would lose pedal pressure. I mean, it would just be like, you know what, fuck you. I mean, the pedal's going to the floor. Wouldn't work fine. So I'm thinking like the ABS module is defective. However, I mean, if the ABS module is defective, then it wouldn't be putting out adequate pressure, but it could be something internally wrong with those valves. That's just my conjecture right now. So even on a one-man band, I tried bleeding it with my vacuum pump. Yeah, I know it's an AC pump, but I tried bleeding it with that. I bled it manually with the hand pump in the front. Still didn't help too much. I still got all the old fluid out because I flushed the system. So the thing is, how I fix this, I'm not going to go through everything I've done as far as how, like, what I think happened. I'll just explain. Even though I got the air out of the system in the front, I had wound up using the scan tool to get the air out for the back. And being I'm a one-man band, I couldn't get everything to work in sync as far as bleeding the front. Maybe I couldn't do it properly. I'm just, like I said, my conjecture. Let's see here. So I went through the bleeding process with the front here. Just went through the air bleeding, and it allowed me to bleed the system without having to press anything. Let me just go here. I'm gonna go here. So let's just explain what it's doing. Now I could have, what it says, just use a vinyl line. So I just used a rubber line, broke the bleeder valve off, and while I was doing that, it says while holding down the pedal down, loosen the bleeder plug. Now I didn't do that in the back. I just cracked the line. I couldn't hold the brake pedal while simultaneously doing that. So I just cracked the line, and I just went through the next step here. Repeat this process. The air comes out, so I pushed OK. All right, so now it says front right or right rear. Now I honestly just used unless that F stands for something that means rear, left rear or something, but I wound up using this feature, the beginning part, for the left rear and the left right rear. I mean, I'm sorry, the right rear. Sorry.
So I wound up using this feature for the right rear and the left rear. So, and I went okay to proceed. Now it just says connect the vinyl tube to the bleeder at the right front wheel or the right rear wheel and loosen bleeder plug. It doesn't say anything about pressing the brakes. It says actually, it says caution, do not press the brake pedal for any remaining inhalation. So I didn't press anything. I went to okay. Press OK to run a bleeding operation for 4 seconds. Note the bleeding operation will turn off after 4 seconds. So I would now this is the time I would be in the back here with the line crack with my little bucket and the little bleeder line going into the bleeder valve into the pail. So that's when I would press OK. It would go through the bleeding process. I would go from the right rear, go to the left rear. After I did it 3 to 4 times on each side, and I would have adequate brake pressure. Okay. Now, when I try to bleed the front, I would lose all my brake pressure. Like it would just all that work would go out the window. So what I did was, you know what? I know I got the air out the system up in the front. If I could literally take a pole, hit it up, depress the brake pedal, and crack the line, there will be no air in the system. But I guess everything going through that ABS module is going to be the sole determinant of if there's going to be air in the line or not. So this is the thing. It's going to be a pain in the ass to replace the master cylinder. It's pointed to replace the ABS module. There's no codes or anything pertaining to the module's working. So I have good brake pressure. Everything's working fine. That repair on the passenger side with the caliper mounting bracket definitely aided in the stop assist. We're not going to have any more abnormal wear. New brakes and rotors on the front. New caliper guide and bracket on the right side over there. So just to go over what I did to fix this, I'm gonna go over one more time. I just bled the back. Mouthful. Bled the back with the scan tool, and in the let's go here. Should be in the ABS VSC traction control setup. You don't have to go through this portion here to access that. You can just go to the PCM, the control unit itself, and access this system. I just happened to do a complete scan to see what code was coming up, which you should have seen early on. So special functions here, and within special functions, that's what allowed me to access the bleeding abilities. So again, I just bled the front manually. If you got a helper, that's great, but I'm by myself, so the basics of how I did it on my own is going to be in the earlier video. But the back, I had to use the air bleeding method here through the scan tool. I wasn't 100% this far, probably wasn't 100% with the directions here, but it works. The brakes are fucking awesome in comparison to how they were before. So this lady is going to be ecstatic about her brakes. So I'm going to work on to the next project because I'm doing another video as far as how to repair these wiper nozzles. So that's going to be my next one here. But again, I just went through my scan tool to bleed the back, and I'm not sure if that had anything to do with how the junction block is, if there is one on here. If you look at it, the brake system on here is quite convoluted. You don't have just the 2 lines going out. It's actually 4 lines, and it's a 2-part master cylinder. It's funky. So, because I mean, the first assumption a person would think is like, oh shit, the master cylinder is bad. If you don't have adequate pressure. That's not the case with the ABS system. So, I hate to say that. But in this case, again, for the 4th time, because I know how trolls on the internet are not that bright, I went through the bleeding process with the scan tool to allow the ABS module to activate this system. This computer activated the ABS module to electronically operate it to where it got the air out of the system. So this is what I used to do the rear. This is what got my brakes working. And I don't know what to say for those who don't have a all-tail if you're trying to bleed the back and you have an ABS system. So good luck.